As we read through I Too by Langston Hughes, I want you to think about, how does the poem make you feel? What are you envisioning in your mind? And think about what point the author is trying to make. We're going to be looking a lot at Langston Hughes today. Let me share my screen for a second. Follow along as I read, please. I Too by Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table. When company comes, nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then, besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. I'm going to send you off into groups now. In your groups, look at the questions that we were just speaking about here. From I Too, think about what point is Langston Hughes trying to make, and also think about, how did this poem make you feel? What picture did it give you in your mind? Make sure that you have your copy of I Too. If you don't have it, check the WeChat group. It is there and available for you. So once again, as we go around, listen to your classmates' ideas as well. Judy, how did this poem make you feel?
Well, it made me feel like in the first sentence it says, I am the darker brother. And it first states that he's Black and American, but then and then the rest of the stanza, it's basically expressing that it wants to be in the same, to eat in the kitchen, but when the company comes, but I laugh and eat one goes wrong. So he's basically saying that in the next, this stanza and the next stanza, saying that they want no segregation, and using to eat at the table, not at the kitchen. It means that Black people and white people should be together and be together for stuff, not be separated.
Very interesting, Judy. So Amanda, Judy is saying that in this poem, I is not Langston Hughes talking about himself. Who does I refer to, Amanda?
I think it's like a general representation of like what she's saying.
Right. It's a general. It's speaking about African Americans and the African American experience and growth in the United States during this time. And what is happening during the course of this poem, Enoch?
What?
What's happening during the course of this poem? What's happening during the course of this journey of African Americans in the United States? We start in the beginning. I'm the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. Yeah. But I laugh and eat well and go strong. Go ahead.
And he says they're gonna change the future.
They're going to change the future. Huh?
Yeah.
So he's saying when they were looked down upon or insulted or cast aside, what was the African American community doing?
Eating well and growing strong.
Right. And they were waiting and they were growing stronger and coming together. And this is what we're learning about in the Harlem Renaissance. Because what is he saying is going to happen next day, Mo? Tomorrow? What's the next step?
He's saying tomorrow they will not make him they will not make him go to the kitchen and eat, or like all the other Jim Crow laws. Okay. They will let them
so you're saying that so you're saying sending them out is referring to Jim Crow laws during the time period possibly as well. And Jessica, remember, this is not him, it is they. And he's saying what is eventually going to happen? At first they're cast aside and separated. Eventually they'll be brought together. But what is the final step that we see at the end, Jessica?
They'll be ashamed.
Who is they?
Like the people who look down on him or them.
Sure, people that were being racist, people that were thinking that African Americans, people that had different colored skin were actually different. And these people will be ashamed because I too African Americans too are American. Simona, what vision did you see in your head as you were reading through this poem? What were you seeing? What were you feeling?
I think like he is expressing the discrimination that there like is going on, but in a very calmly way. Like there's no like, I mean there is like strong emotion, but he's not like being overly emotional, but like still like he uses strong words like ashamed and stuff. So like it really like have a strong impact on the reader.
It's like there's strength in the calmness, huh? The force of the words makes you feel what he feels. No matter how hard the plight was, the perseverance, the courage, the strength is what was going to hold out, which is what's going to win in the end. And in the end, it's not just going to be African Americans doing well, but it's going to be everybody realizing the mistakes that were made before everybody can come together. Faye, how did this poem make you feel?
Well, it made me feel like inspired because like it tells us about like the Black and like how in the future they will be treated equally and like seen equally as the white and not be treated with racism and like unfairly, and it like just makes me feel good to know that, and like the Black are treated equally.
It inspires me as well, Faye, and that's very, very well said. Good job to all of you today. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the leaders of the Harlem Renaissance, in particular, Langston Hughes, who wrote the poem we just read. Please get the essential question into your note-taking books. What impact did the art, literature, and philosophy of Langston Hughes and W.E.B. Du Bois have on the Harlem Renaissance? Into your note-taking books it goes, please. Here was our poet, Langston Hughes, lived from 1902 to 1967. And yes, that does mean that his early poetry that you were seeing written in 1920 was written when he was just 17 years old. He was one of the leaders of the Harlem Renaissance, one of the most famous authors of the entire period. He wrote plays, poetry, books that focused on African American life.
Yeah.
Make sure you have Langston Hughes in your notebook. That's the bold word. But remember, beyond that, you are using your note-taking skills. I did not bold anything else in this slide. A little teeny bit about him so that future you will be reminded of who he is. A little bit more reminding future you who Langston Hughes is. Remember, your notes are not for me. They're not for your parents. They are for yourself. Okay. We just saw a biography video on Langston Hughes, great IQs. We're going to finish today by reading one more poem by Langston called The South. As you read the poem, I've got 3 questions for you. Feel free to take a screenshot or write the questions down before we go to the poem. Question number 1, what do you feel the poem The South reveals about life in the South? Question number 2, what does the poem suggest might be the solution to life in the South? And question number 3, what does the poem reveal about life in the North?